So welcome again, everyone, to our Soon Safer Happier EMEA meetup. And yeah, I'm Anne Gambles, and I'm here today with Kate Mulligan and Dean Lajana, and together with Jolt, who isn't here today. We co-lead this community, and we're really pleased to welcome today Silas, I think. Sorry, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Rosensgold, and really looking forward to hearing from Silas how to turn communities into magic. So I think I first met you, Silas, at a Sooner Safer Happier Advocate event, within which you were talking about magic days, and super interesting to hear about that, and I'm really looking forward to hearing you sharing more about that in this session today. So yeah, Silas comes to us from a background in project management within finance IT, and he hails from Denmark. So yeah, and without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Silas, if that's okay.
My name is Silas Rosensgold. You can call me Silas or Silas, whichever you prefer. Anne said I'm from Denmark and I work in financial IT. Specifically, I work in a company that does hosting for the financial sector. I have been working on building a community of practice and a sort of company event these past 18 months that I'm going to talk a little bit about and share some of the learnings that I have from this, and looking forward to also hearing some good feedback and thoughts from you guys. I'm going to talk about 3 aspects of building a community of practice based on this Magic Day event that I have facilitated at my company. Starting a community, scaling a community, and succeeding with building a community. And just for reference, the company I work in is called JN Data. So Magic Day is this idea that we wanted to set one day aside where we gather across the whole organization to work together on a topic. And what's important for us is to get people from different technical areas sitting together, preferably in person, and spending a whole day working on something specific. And so far, what we have had is that we have had a theme or topic that has been automation, more specifically working with interacting with the infrastructure via automations. And the way that we have built up the day is that there are 2 different tracks. You can either be building on the day, which means you will be building an automation that you have chosen to work on, or you can be learning, which is a sort of onboarding course that we have prepared for participants. So when they come on the day, they have a full day to learn how to work with automations. We have held Magic Day 3 times, one at each of our locations. We have 2 locations in Denmark, and then we have 1 location in Warsaw in Poland. Magic Day is arranged by a group of 5 people that is actually part of a project team that I have been managing. And so far, we have had a bit more than 120 of our employees introduced to our automation platforms, and we've had a lot of automation solutions coming out of this initiative. 120 employees is roughly 10-12% of the whole company, so that's something we think is really cool. Notably, Magic Day is a voluntary event, so we open up for registrations a couple of months before, and then people have to sign up on their own, and they have to talk to the manager and kind of figure out their schedule in order to participate. And so far, we have seen an attendance from around 20% of the company across these 3 days, which is my personal little success from these Magic Day events. So that's just to give you some context on when I talk about Magic Day, what is it about? Now I'm going to go back in time and look back at how did we get to a point where we were able to facilitate this event and get this many people participating and wanting to work with automation as well. If we look at starting a community of practice, I think a really good approach for me is this quote from Sooner Safer Happier. It says the key to success is to invite participation, which of course is really what a community is about. It's about creating something together. And I think many of you have already seen this really great slide before with innovation diffusion and trying to change the mindset around when you want to do something new, start looking at the innovators, the early adopters, and throw your energy into building something around their energy and their passion for a certain topic, which for me was automation. So to zoom in a little bit on this, just super quickly, my recommendation is regarding this group, innovators and early adopters, to try and convince these people and to co-create with them. It's a way to get started. And then we have the early late majority, where it's more of a teaching, helping relationship you have with them. And I have put in for the laggards, I've put respectfully ignore, which at least has been my approach. And so you want to respect the fact that some of the people who were there were probably at one point the innovators themselves, but you also want to don't get your what can you say, motivation drained by a few people who are just always going to be not interested in whatever it is that you want to create some energy around. So if we look at like a classic way for companies to change the culture, you would want to go out and you would want to do an informational campaign. You do some training programs. You can do some Q&A sessions, which in my project as well is kind of where we started. We had this idea to create something called the automation cafe, where we wanted to say 1 hour a week should be easy for anyone to come and talk to us and learn more about how to work with this or get help, troubleshooting, just being a place that's easy for people to get some inspiration or get some help. And so we started doing that. And then we got a little bit smarter. Because if you look at it, these kind of things, saying, talking about it, this is a good idea, we want to do this learning for you guys and help you. If we look at these early and late majority people, then this could fit really well, because when they see an informational campaign, they would think, oh, that's exciting. This sounds a little bit difficult. So I hope there's also some good support here. And then, you put in a training program, and they're hoping for a lot of detail in this because, they're a bit afraid. And then you have the Q&A sessions, and that's great. They feel, now I finally feel I'm not that nervous, because then I can get to ask all my questions and they can answer it and all of that. So this traditional strategy works quite well for these people. But if we look instead at these innovators, early adopters, my experience is that if you come with an informational campaign, they will be more like, oh, that stuff, I know about that already. Like they don't really um, you're hard pressed to surprise these people with something they don't already know about from some online forum or something. And if you throw a training program at them, right, if you really force them to it, maybe they'll do it. You can throw up some Q&A sessions, and they'll see there's an invitation to come and really test how much do you really know about this subject topic. And this is something that we learned, that these kind of traditional tools, mechanisms to change culture doesn't really interact with these kind of people. That's not what fuels them. And some of it, I've tried to put this together as a funny little way to see it, that you have this place that you want to lead people, which is you want to start this community because you want people to do more of something. But when you have these people, from their perspective, they are pretty much already doing everything and they are already really good at it. So when you want to approach these kind of people and you want to get something going with them, you have to change the way that you think about getting their attention. So for us, that meant after we had had these cafes, open sessions, people can come and ask questions. We kind of went back to the drawing board. We talked to some of the people who showed up, and they didn't show up because they had questions. They showed up because they thought it was an interesting topic and they wanted to talk to someone. And we went back to the drawing board and we said, all right, what we should do is we should look for facilitating opportunities where these people can shine. They can show all the good stuff they're doing and share their passion with each other. And then we should go out and we should build a relationship with the key people in the community. And then we need to just go out and gather all of the good stories and promote them on their behalf. And this is where it might be helpful to remember that while I'm talking about innovators and early adopters, and they have this kind of like go fast, break things energy, still, I also work in hosting. And if your world is like mine, these people, they are not the first to put up their hand if you say, why don't you go out and tell someone about this really cool thing you built? That's not what they want to do. So one of the things that we do as facilitators is to take their stories and then re-promote them on their behalf, because they do like that, but it's not really something that they would want to do to go and do that. And when we wanted to put together Magic Day, the way we approached it was to say, when you look at the innovators and early adopters, we want to have, first of all, online cafes. So instead of physical cafes where they had to show up and ask questions, we actually just started asking, would you like to have a regular forum where we can talk about automations? And some of them said, yes. Said, all right, then I will facilitate that and I will expect you guys to come and actually share something. I'm not an expert in that topic. And I started facilitating weekly online cafes for anyone in the company who's interested in the topic. And they're still ongoing, and there's still lots of good talks and chats and presentations being shared. And then then we wanted to look at Magic Day because we had the idea the whole time to say, okay, but we also want this one day where we get to really dedicate some time to it. And to hit this group, the innovators and early adopters, we came up with the build track. And we, a couple of months in advance, just said at one of these online cafes that they should start brainstorming on something they would like to build. And they should start asking around who could help me build this thing. We are also going to help them, find some good cases to work on, but really they should be them bringing good ideas to the table and working on them. And then what we did as well was that we had this learn track, which targeted more the early late majority to say, all you have to do is sign up, then we will prepare everything for you. You just show up and we have facilitators on the day ready to answer your questions and help you get through this we call it course program we have prepared for you to get started building automations. So that way we kind of hit both of them, but we can put most of our energy into the build track where our innovators and early adopters they reside. And hopefully that gives a little bit of insight on how I approached this thing with convincing and co-creating with the innovators and early adopters, and then teaching and helping the early late majority. And now we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about your perspectives, where you are at in your workplace. We have a Miro board for it as well. And I have prepared 2 questions that I would like for you to consider. What ideas do you have for community of practice at your work? Maybe you're already working on something. Maybe you just have an idea to do something. And how could you form these necessary relationships with these innovators, early adopters, to start building such a community?
Nice.
You should be able to see my points now for scaling a community of practice, which I mentioned before. And one of the things that I think is important is to consider the pace that you expect, both from yourself, from the community, from the successes you get. Because when you're starting something, initially you will have this kind of, okay, you're going upwards and you're almost there, and then you hit that initial success. If you did have a good idea, you're just going to see all these great results, and there's going to be so many good stories to share, and everything is just going. And this is a really great phase of anything new, pioneering something, creating something. But it's also a very dangerous phase to think of as this is now what it's going to be like. Because at some point, that initial boost going downhill ends, and now you're just going, and you're not really seeing anything but hard work, and it just continues. And this is something that I think is important when you're wanting to create these communities, to think of the majority of the work that you're doing is just going to be going along a straight road, and you have to have a pace in your legs that you can sustain for a very long time. There will hopefully be some other great successes down the road. Maybe you're going to cross a little ridge and then you'll get another boost. But this is where, all the magic is prepared. And so the way that I facilitated this community of practice was in these online cafes, where we either have an open agenda or we have longer form presentations from participants. They have at the same time every week, 1 hour. And when I remember, I always open them by saying the reason why we facilitate this is because there was an interest in the company to have a place to talk about automations. This is that place. And then I do something, which is that I kind of say, when we don't have longer form presentations, I say, now I am going to stop talking and I'm going to mute my microphone, and I would like to invite anyone who has something fun they would like to share or a topic they would like to bring up to bring that up. And then I actually mute my microphone. And sometimes you have to wait longer than you might find comfortable. But almost every time someone has something they want to bring up, but it takes them a little bit of time to feel, am I the one who's going to say something, and what am I going to say? And they always know it's coming up. It's not a surprise there's another online cafe next week, but still it it takes some time for them. And something that I also wrote down for facilitating these, which it sounds like you people kind of get the same, that people prefer to be invited to share. When you invite someone to share, you have vouched for their idea to be something someone else wants to hear. if they raise the hand themselves, it's more difficult. And so that could also mean, even when it's very, not a big presentation, but if not a lot is happening and I know something's going on, I could unmute and I could say, so and so, you mentioned that idea the other day when we were talking, and I think that would actually be something other people here would appreciate hearing about. Do you maybe want to, and just kind of nudge people a little bit, because it also makes it less scary for them. And then I'll say that if you show sincere interest, that can lead to a shared passion. And it kind of fits with when you're building this community initially, you're kind of building around yourself, really. Because you're the one who is pulling people and praising people for their good ideas and sharing the good stories and all of that. So your constant, sincere interest, curiosity can lead to other connections between people that maybe didn't know they had the same passion, but because you kind of put them together, now they have a shared passion in it. And this one, which I'll leave it with this one, because it fits well with some of you said in the cards as well, that just because someone is silent, it doesn't mean that they have a lack of interest. When I host the cafes, there's maybe 30 people there. I'm the only one with the camera on, and maybe there's 6 or 8 people talking, and the rest are listening in. And then I get a chance to meet some of these people, at Magic Day or during when I'm walking around, and hear how much they appreciate being a part of the community, even though some of them have never said anything. But just being the fact that it's open, that they are allowed to be there with on their terms, I think um, that helps them to feel included. And they still go out there and they do the things that we want people to do. They don't feel comfortable sharing it in the forum. So I think it's important to not attribute too much, value to. It's good that people talk, but don't think that if someone doesn't say anything, it means that, oh, they are not interested in this at all. And I hope that, like, let me bring this up last. Um, you know, trying to show here in the bottom that you can see the hard work just continues. It just keeps going and going and going. And to really move with this, make room for people and be generous with praise. Just praise people left and right. Why not? And of course, at some point, you want to make sure that you have management aligned with what you're doing, which in my case, I have been very fortunate to have. I've had very supportive management who have also kept their distance to make it grow bottom up, and dream big. Sometimes all it takes is a few people who are crazy enough to chase after some idea, and then a lot of people are like, oh, I would want to give that a go, and then you just as the hard work continues over and over every week, you have the cafe and you hope people will share, etc. Then you're constantly behind the scenes dreaming big and getting ready for that next big thing that you want to implement.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Silas. Yeah, you've given us lots of really interesting things to think about there. And yeah, I think, thank you. As people are saying in the chat, really great presentation, lots of things to think, and really great sharing. Thank you for everyone,
Thank you.
to everyone for participating and sharing your thoughts. Yeah, good to see that people have gained some new insights through this session. That's what we're all about.